A week ago, I would have said I was a hard atheist. Today, I would say I'm agnostic.
Really?
And
why?
that all of this came about from the natural process from the Big Bang. Billions of years later, we have this. And at the same time, you can say it's still beautiful. I can still appreciate it. I can still enjoy it to the fullest extent as any human being, even though knowing that at the atomic level it goes on in this way. And I am honest with that. That's why I went in to study physics in the first place.
Jesus Christ communicates. Alex, I love you. Respond to my love.
A physics student steps forward. Once a hard atheist, but something has changed. He questions if love, morality, and soul can be reduced to chemistry. Cliffe listens, then challenges him head-on. This is one of his deepest intellectual debates yet. Can science explain the soul and creation itself? Let us know in the comments. Now let's dive in.
From a long period of time, if we followed this moral, this rule, then we saw that society prospered. Therefore, we followed it.
How is that science?
It's science in the sense that we try this, that's the trial. We see how society does, that's the observation. We make a rational conclusion based on that trial, and then by judging those individual morals as this helps society, this didn't. Maybe that's a subjective judgment, but it's still science in the sense of you did an experiment on a society, you saw what worked, and you took what worked as knowledge of this works, therefore it's moral.
Okay, I would argue that's not science. I would argue that science is studying physical process, not moral process.
But what about psychology? Psychology is, in a sense, a science. It's not a hard science, it's not a physical science, but it is science.
Yeah, I would argue that psychology is a soft science, not a hard science. And I would argue that you got to be real careful when it comes to what are your presuppositions when it comes to doing good psychology. I mean, if your presupposition is there is no God and we are simply complex chemical reactions, that's going to lead you down one path, as opposed to if you believe that there is a God who has given us a spirit or a soul or a personality or a me, there's a me that goes beyond the complex biochemical reactions, that's going to lead me down another path.
Right, yeah.
Right?
A week ago, I would have said I was a hard atheist. Today, I would say I'm agnostic.
Really?
And
why?
Just because I couldn't cite the authors or the works, but some of the stuff I was reading just about, one was a critique of Richard Dawkins, in which he talked about like specific reasons why he thought that either God could be proved as real, which I don't really follow, or reasons that he thought that that there had to be something other than just physical process. And I guess that's where I came down to the point of whether I can't really say whether it's true or not. The idea of a soul beyond, if you know, there is the belief that we are just complex chemical reactions. There's the belief that we're that, but that it's tied to a soul, which is outside of the physical plane. And I guess I can't really make up my mind which view is correct. So, I would if I saw, there's obviously no way, or there's no obvious way to show that a soul can't exist. And I can't say that I've necessarily found any evidence that one does. And that's why I'm undecided.
Okay. Okay, here's why I believe that Alex has a soul, that I have a soul. Because I'm convinced you have a free will. Why am I convinced of that? Because I'm convinced that tonight you can look back over the events of this day and you can critique yourself. You can say, when I did that, good, I want to repeat that tomorrow. When I did that, bad, I don't want to repeat that tomorrow. In other words, you have the ability of self-perception.
Right.
You can know yourself.
And why couldn't that be a complex chemical reaction itself?
Well, if it is, then it's not really you critiquing yourself, it's just you living out those chemical reactions.
Yeah.
In other words, I think determinism wins the day if there is no God. Because we're just biochemical reactions, highly complex. Obviously, we don't understand them all. But still, you reduce me to a chemical reaction. And I think that... Would you see the movie Crash?
No, I actually haven't seen it.
All right, I want you to watch that movie. All right?
Okay.
Matt Dillon, right, plays this white racist police officer. He pulls his car over one night. He's giving a sobriety test to the African-American driver. All of a sudden, the woman comes out of the car to protest, and he starts fondling her sexually. Then they leave, and his fellow police officer asked for a transfer. He was so grossed out by it. Next day, Matt Dillon comes upon a car that's overturned, gas is leaking, the flames are coming, but he knows the driver's in there. He crawls in there. The woman driver raises her head, looks Matt in the face. It's the woman he fondled the night before. She screams, "Get out of here." He says, "No, I got to save you." The flames are getting closer and closer to the gas. His fellow police officers are saying, "Get out of there, you're going to blow." He stays in there in spite of the fact that all of his instincts for survival and self-preservation, not to be hauled into court on sex charges by the woman, say, "Get out of there and let her blow and you can save your life." Instead of that, he does what he ought to do. He does what he should do. He cuts her out of the seatbelt, saves her life. See, I think that's a tremendous example of soul. Meaning by that, all my instincts are telling me, get out, save your hide. But there's this sense of oughtness, what I should do, and I put my life on the line to save this woman. I think it's a tremendous example of that free will, of that ability to love, ability to critique my instincts and say, "Shut up, instinct. I'm going to do what's right," instead of what my self-preservation instinct drives me to do. That's what I mean.
Yeah, and yet at the same time, you could say that that choice to do what you ought to do and not follow your primal instincts
Right.
could be just a product of the way you were raised. This police officer was racist, but he's also raised in such a way that he valued human life, and maybe in an emergency situation recognized this is a human life that I could save. And you could say that's also just instinct in a sense. It's more complex than just pure survival. I need to do whatever is going to save me. But it's the way he was raised to say, this is how you be a good person, this is how you do well in society, and just applied to that situation.
Yeah, but isn't there a part of you that judges your instincts? Isn't there a part of you that judges the way you were raised? Isn't there a part of you that judges the innate drives that you have?
But that judging was also taught to me. That value of, to say, how can I determine if this is good or bad, was taught to me.
Sure. And a lot of morality was taught to me.
Exactly.
But when I become an adult, I have an ability to critique what I was taught and to figure out, do I want to stay with this or do I want to break with it?
But did you critique it purely, like would you have critiqued it in vacuum if you had just been raised this way and then set with no outside material and say, can you judge for yourself whether you think those are good ideas or not? Or do you have to experience a worldview, experience other people, read other things, other ideas, in order to gain some perspective to judge how you're raised?
I think both. I think obviously that's part of the beauty of a liberal arts education.
Right.
You're being taught how to judge more carefully and how to critique more clearly.
But there's some way you could critique without those tools, maybe extremely slowly and not very well, but you could still do it.
Absolutely. Two white women, Sarah and Angelina Grimke, grew up on a plantation in South Carolina. Their environment taught them slavery is crucial to keeping the economic wheels turning smoothly. Sarah and Angelina Grimke leave their plantation in South Carolina, go north and join the abolitionist movement. I think it's really clear. Everything their environment was telling them, slavery is very beneficial. They chose to follow their conscience instead of follow their environment.
Yeah, or follow their morals.
Yeah.
And those morals they're taught that, at least among white people, that you have to respect one another, you have to be polite one another, and you have to give each other equal opportunity to have a good life. Maybe not amongst men and women at the time, but at least among other women, you have to treat them as equals. And so they think then, I can, maybe this shouldn't just apply to me. I don't think, maybe this should apply to our slaves as well. Maybe they should be given equal right. What makes us so different? And I don't necessarily think that thought process shows that they have soul. It just shows that they had enough of a mind to apply an idea they see here to something they see there and come to a conclusion.
Okay. All right, when I say soul, we better define it quickly. I mean free will, personality, individuality. So let me ask you, if she looks you in the face and says, Alex, I love you, what on earth is she saying? What does that mean?
It means that, well, it means a lot of things. It means that she respects me, that she wants to spend time with me and get to know me, and things along those lines.
Okay. Let's say that a young lady's been saying that to you for the past month. If your father calls you up tonight and says, Alex, I've been paying her $1,000 a week to love you, how would you feel?
I would feel betrayed and like I'd been tricked into meeting a person who didn't exist.
Okay, so would I. Okay, now does that not tell you that free will, individuality, personality, soul is real?
Yes,
that there's
certainly.
more to her than just a sex drive. There's more to her than just instinct. There's a free will that can choose to love Alex or can say, you're gross, get lost.
Right. Yeah, I mean, certainly, to some extent. I still, my whole point is still that I think that all those things can still arise from natural physical process.
Okay. So then it's just a physical process when she says, I love you.
Yeah. Yeah, a very complex set of brain chemistry that when she's around me, she feels good and she thinks I'm interesting and whatever. And so she says that to let me know that she feels those things.
Okay, now, if what you say is true, my experience contradicts that. Why? I am convinced that I could be a deadbeat dad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced I could really love and provide for my children. My experience is I don't have to do either. Second point, I am convinced to the root of my being that I could be unfaithful to my wife and I could commit adultery.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can choose to be faithful and loyal to my wife.
Right.
Okay, that's life as I experience it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I cannot buy the worldview that says we are just complex biochemical reactions. I can't buy the worldview that says determinism wins the day. Not only that, think about the legal system in the United States, right? Little dude comes around the corner of the building. Balding, little gray hair, big stack of books under his arms. I haul back and hit the guy as hard as I can. I'm hauled into a court of law. The judge says, Cliff, what are you doing? Why'd you hit the guy? I said, wait, Your Honor, when I was a little kid, my dad abused me. And my dad had a balding head and he had little gray hair. And every time he'd abuse me, Your Honor, he'd take up a big book and just cream me over the head with it. Mm-hmm. And this guy just so reminded me of my dad that due to the influences of my environment, I had to hit him. Fortunately, the legal system in the United States is not based on that worldview. Fortunately, the legal system in the United States is based on, no, Cliff, you have a soul, you have a free will, and guess what, Cliff? You're responsible for smacking that professor. I'm sorry that your father abused you, but you still have a free will, and we're going to put you into jail for smacking that professor.
Yeah, but by turning the same coin, you could say that, sure, we have people who make bad choices in this country, and the way we're going to change that is through a legal system. It's not necessarily we're saying they had a free will that wasn't natural process, and that they just chose to do that. We're saying that because their environment raised to do that, we need to put them in a different environment where they'll be taught not to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And through physical process, then people, at least in theory, become better people through the system.
Yeah. My experience as a parent is that my children have a free will. Meaning by that, they got the same mom and dad, they got the same environment, they go to the same schools, but man, they are radically different.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm convinced, because of that kind of evidence, that indeed there is a soul, a personality that we have.
Yeah, but couldn't that be attributed to genetics?
Yep, you can always reduce anything, right?
Right.
You can always reduce things.
Right.
But Alex, my experience in life is that's very dangerous. Why? Because a key part of your life is going to be standing in wonder that she really loves you and that she wants to be faithful to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you reduce her love for you, if you reduce her faithfulness to you as being, well, it's simply a biochemical reaction, you're going to miss a big part of life.
See, I don't think
I'm
that's,
convinced.
I don't think that's true. I think you can know that it's that way. You can know that all of this came about from the natural process from the Big Bang. Billions of years later, we have this. And at the same time, you can say it's still beautiful. I can still appreciate it. I can still enjoy it to the fullest extent as any human being, even though knowing that at the atomic level it goes on in this way.
Are you being honest with yourself?
I think so. I think the natural process is beautiful. And when it's extremely complex, it's all the more beautiful. And I am honest with that. That's why I went into study physics in the first place.
Orgasm is orgasm. Why on earth it's got to be with one woman? Because you're loyal to her? Because you love her? If that is just a physical chemical process, then why not have orgasm with many different women?
Because it would be a negative chemical process for me to see her hurt if she ever found out about it.
So well, what happens if she says to you it's fine?
Well, for certain people, that works for them, and I don't really know if I have a basis to judge them. I haven't thought about it very hard, but I don't know if I do or not. For me personally, if she's the kind of woman who's okay with that, then she's not the one I would have fallen in love with in the first place, because I'm not okay with that kind of relationship.
Why?
Because, I mean, I don't know specifically for me, it's partially the way I was raised, probably. Just partially from the way I was raised and my genetics, my personality today, that if I was in some kind of, if I could try to have that intimate relationship with two people at the same time, I just, I haven't tried it, but I feel like I'd be really uncomfortable with it.
Okay, now I would guess that the reason you feel uncomfortable with it is because you've had some experiences that are evidence that indeed there is more to that relationship with that woman than just hooking up. Mm-hmm. That you really are two individuals with a free will, and you can choose to be loyal to each other, but you don't have to be loyal to each other. I don't care what your environment's taught you. Mm-hmm. You can violate your environment. I mean, isn't that a big part of the whole university experience, the whole college experience, right?
Right.
We grew up in a certain environment. Now we're here. Whoopee-doo. Let it rip.
Right.
Right?
But isn't that the environment here?
Yeah.
That suddenly the constraints are removed.
Yeah.
So.
And isn't it absolutely fascinating to watch different people make free choices to respond differently to the environment that's here?
Yeah. Or they make, they go with the choices that they think typical of college students, and they go through those, and they decide, I liked this one, I didn't like this one, I'm going to stick with this one, that's sort of thing. And then they end up as a certain kind of person based on those experiences.
All right. Well, now, Jesus Christ communicates, Alex, I love you. Respond to my love. Now, I would argue that that's free will involved here. Romeo says to Juliet, Juliet, I love you. Would you marry me? Juliet says, talk to me tomorrow. Tomorrow. Romeo says, Juliet, I love you. Would you marry me? Juliet says, tomorrow. Talk to me then. If that pattern continues, Romeo and Juliet will never be married. So love doesn't coerce, it doesn't manipulate, but it reaches, it initiates, and then it waits for a response. Jesus Christ says, Alex, I love you. I died on a cross to forgive you and to give you eternal life. Now, will you respond to me? And I would argue you don't have to respond or not respond.
Right.
You've got to choose.
So I feel like you can, at least you can make the argument that choice still comes as a byproduct of the way you're raised and your initial genetics, and that everything else, that the person you were at that point would have made this decision given that knowledge. A different person might have made a different decision, or you might have made a different decision at a different time, but who you are at a specific instance, given some new knowledge, will respond to it in a certain way.
Well, it's been an honor talking with you, man.
Certainly.
Thank you so much, Al. Greatly appreciate it.